Hi, this is Andre. We're going to look at synchronizing the Loupé with the Korg Volca line. Now, the Loupé does not do MIDI at all, and it cannot receive external sync from an outside master, but the Loupé does generate pulse sync, and the Korg Volca line is capable of receiving pulse sync. So, full disclosure, I did not previously own a Volca before getting ready for this video. Glou-Glou reached out to me and very kindly offered to sponsor a Volca for me so that I could demonstrate this kind of thing in some videos. I was and remain very humbled and grateful for the offer, and I thought the Volca Drum looked like the most appealing one. Aside from the base price of the Volca, Glou-Glou did not pay me anything at all, and I covered the sales tax because California sales tax is pretty expensive. So in this first video, we're going to look at some of the fundamental aspects of synchronizing the Loupé to the Volca and different types of relationships you can have between those two units. Alright, let's start out by checking out the beat we have on the Volca. Pretty straightforward. There's a little bit of randomization in there, so if it sounds slightly different each time, that's why. Now we are plugging the sync cable from the Loupé to the sync-in jack on the Volca. So we're going to start off having the Volca start playing as soon as there is a loop in the Loupé. So we have the sync-in cable connected from the Loupé, we press play, and it's waiting for an external sync. And as soon as we've recorded an initial loop on the Loupé, Volca is going to have that. So we're going to record that initial loop. There we go. Overdub on top of that. Now, you can change the length of the loop through multiply or insert and keep building cycles off that, and it's going to retain synchronization. So you can see there, we built up to 2 cycles long, but the Volca is still keeping exactly the same tempo. So the sync that it's receiving is defined by the initial loop length. If we remultiply down, same thing there. If we scroll, same thing there. Let's reset everything. What you can also do is start the Loupé and then have the Volca start whenever you want it to. So we've turned off play, so the Volca is not in a waiting state. I'm going to record an initial loop over here. And let's have it kick in. 2, 3, 4. And you can have the Volca come in whenever you want. So I'm going to stop it. Let's pick another spot as the downbeat. So let's say that's the downbeat. 3, 4. Let's randomly pick another spot. So this is the indicator of the loop start point as far as the Loupé is concerned, but the Volca isn't necessarily following that. You can basically press play whenever you want on the Volca. And it'll stay in sync, and it doesn't really care what the start point of the Loupé is. Let's do that a couple more times. So depending on where you have the drum start, the loop feels very different, but it's staying in sync. All right, let's go to a game that has some 8th quantization business happening. And these are going to be the quantization points. And you can hear you've got those perfectly quantized replace bits, but it's still staying in sync. Now, let's insert some extra stuff in there. And as soon as we do that, this basically turns into a subdivision display. So if you listen to it, even though we're now phasing with the Volca, it's still in sync. So we haven't lost synchronization, we just have a loop that is now a different length than a 1/4/4 pattern like the Volca has. But again, the Loupé keeps sending the same sync, so we can mess with the length of the loop. So let's do that. We're going to do some multiply and insert to change the loop length. And let's add one more. So now our loop is back to the equivalent of 1/4/4 bar of what the Volca is doing. But even when we had different subdivisions and we're changing the length, the Volca still stayed in sync, like this. Let's scroll back a bit. Now this is kind of interesting. If we stop the Loupé, the Volca stops as well. If we restart the loop from the beginning, the Volca is going to pick up where it left off. So if you look at this display, it's not going to go back to 1 when we unmute here. It just picks up wherever it left off. So we're going to stop at 9. And now, it's kind of a cool way of, again, creating more variation. And if you want them to stop and restart at the same time, you can use the pause function. And one other thing we should talk about is that you can change the relationship of the loop length to the Volca, which is easier to demonstrate than to describe. So right now we have 2 pulses per quarter note as the sync division. If we change it to 1 and then save that, now the Volca is going half time. I'm going to restart it on a downbeat. Come on. There we go. Something like that. And if we increase the sync division, then it will get faster. And you can go a lot faster. Let's see how fast it'll go. Oh boy. Finally, something else we haven't really talked about. The Loupé can actually preset a loop length in BPM. So completely aside from anything with the Volca, right now in this game I have this set up because I want to record a loop that is 101 beats per minute. So record, and now I have a loop that is exactly 101 beats. If you want to configure that, what you do is go in here, select record BPM, and then you can dial in what you want the tempo to be. I dialed in 101. And then of course we can have the Volca play along with that whenever we want it to. So these are some of the more relatively straightforward ways you can synchronize the Loupé and the Korg Volcas. The next video is going to look at a bit more of a mad scientist routine where we are changing the Loupé length outside of cycle boundaries, changing the length sometimes on a millisecond by millisecond basis, and watching how the Volca follows that sync and stays very tightly locked to it. That is just around the corner. Until then, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you again soon.